We live in a world that crucified a man who said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life," and released Barabbas, the worst criminal, in the place of truth. In a sense, it's a world that crucified the truth in itself. This is the picture of the world we live in. We have crucified the truth in the place of a violent and evil man called Barabbas, and call it the just and tolerant and a kind world. Many people are talking about progressive thinking, and countries are adopting progressive thinking. What we have done is taken God out of context and added all the feel-good factors to make us nice, kind, and tolerant. There's nothing wrong with being nice, kind, and tolerant. But if we do that to suppress the truth, then everything is wrong about it. C.S. Lewis said, "We all want progress, but progress means getting nearer to the place where you want to be. And if you have taken a wrong turning, then to go forward does not get you any nearer. If you are on the wrong road, progress means doing an about turn and walking back to the right road. And in that case, the man who turns back soonest is the most progressive man." Paul says in Romans chapter 1, "The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of people who suppress the truth by their wickedness, since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse." Paul is saying there are clues in nature about God. There are clues about His divine qualities and power. There are different arguments and theories about the origin of the world. One of the argument is cosmological argument, where they say, how could something come from nothing? Everything we know as a beginning. You can't say that the world was created by a big bang and shut things up. There must be an origin to even Big Bang, according to the cosmological argument. Then there is a teleological argument. Telos means design. It talks about an intelligent designer. See, if you look at the universe and everything, how it works, the fundamental regularities and the constants of the physics, such as the gravitational force, speed of light, and strength of weak and strong nuclear forces, all of these have to be perfectly calibrated for matter to coalesce. If not, we wouldn't have matter. And likewise, for life to exist in Earth, the Earth has to be positioned exactly the right place between Sun and other planets, and Moon has to be in the exact place. If not, life won't survive. There are so many other intricate design. And these are the clues. It didn't happen by a random accident or a big bang. There must be a designer behind it. But Paul says a lot more radical than this in Romans 1. He says, "For although they knew God, they neither glorified Him as God nor gave thanks to Him, but their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened." What Paul is saying is that every human being does know there is a God. Everyone's heart knows there is a God. Some part of our heart knows there is a God. See, during Second World War, many intellectual atheists condemned Hitler's actions as evil and supported human rights, justice, and freedom. Some of these atheists became a Christian after the World War, and some of their explanations on why they became a Christian are fascinating. This is what they said. If you look at the nature, you see the patterns of strong eating the weak. It's a survival of the fittest. Smaller animals eat insects and smaller creatures, whereas the bigger animals like foxes and wolves eat the smaller animals. The mighty animals like tigers and lions eat the bigger animals. But when a strong country attacks a weak country, why do you say that is wrong? On what basis? How do you decide? Why do you believe in human rights? Nature works this way. And so why are you refuting this when it comes to a nation attacking another nation? Hitler had a reason to justify his actions. The people who opposed Hitler used a reason saying, this is against human rights. On what basis do you say that Hitler is wrong and others are correct? Where is the absolute truth you're drawing your conclusion from? Atheists say that we are all born from Big Bang, when molecules collide and slowly human life started. So in a sense, their argument is that you are a result of a bunch of chemical reaction, atoms colliding billions of years ago. See, if you're all chemicals, why do I need to believe your reason supporting human rights is correct? Why do I need to believe that yours is correct and someone else's argument and justification on war is wrong? Why do I need to believe? Because you're a result, your thoughts, you are a result of a random collision of atoms. Why am I obligated to believe what some group is saying is correct? When there is no standard, how dare you say yours is right and others are wrong? If you believe that human right and justice are not imaginary but real, then there must be an absolute truth, and there must be an absolute truth giver. If there is no God, they all would be imaginary, and I don't have to believe. I'm not obligated to believe what you're saying. But they're not imaginary, so there must be a God. This is what the explanation given by some of those atheists who became a Christian. See, if you believe genocide is wrong, human rights are correct, then there must be God. If you're walking through the woods, how can you say something is crooked? If you see a stick that is crooked, how can you say that's crooked unless you've seen a straight line? Unless there is a God, there is a judge, how can I say something is wrong? There must be an absolute truth. There must be an absolute law somewhere. Immanuel Kant, a famous German philosopher and devoted Christian, said, "Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and reverence: the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me." See, we all know there is a moral law. When someone does something that hurts us, we say, "This is not fair." We appeal to some kind of moral law. Where does it come from? When something unjust happens in the news, when we hear about wars, we say, "This is not fair." Where does it come from? When someone dies very young in a tragic accident, we cry, "It's not fair." Where does it come from? The answer is, we know there is a God, but we suppress it. At the heart of hearts, we know there is a moral law, and the humanity is not functioning according to the moral law. We know that we ourselves fail in keeping such laws. C.S. Lewis talks about 3 requirements of morality. If you take a fleet of ships, they all need to go straight without colliding with each other. Their engines need to be in perfect condition. Thirdly, they need to go in the correct direction. The problem with the modern world is that we are focused on the first point, that we all have that standards to be kind, accepting, and tolerant. We think moral living is only to make sure ships don't collide with one another. We don't accept the fact that the ship's engine is faulty. No matter how you patch it and try to behave, at one point, one of the ship will break down, causing a chaos and collision. And more importantly, the ships are heading in a wrong direction. If they are supposed to head to London, they are going to New York. They are completely heading in the wrong direction. We forgot the original purpose of mankind and heading in the wrong direction. Unless the ship's internal engine are restored, it is not possible. But we don't accept it. We cover our flaws and suppress the truth. So according to Immanuel Kant and C.S. Lewis, these are the facts. There is a universal moral law that governs the universe. If there is a universal moral law, there is a moral lawgiver. If there is a moral lawgiver, it must be something or someone beyond the universe. Therefore, there is someone beyond the universe. And look at creation, what we can learn about this moral lawgiver. This lawgiver is an incredible artist and designer. Take a look at the cosmos. It's quite a beautiful place. Every stars and galaxies are beautifully designed. Our human body is beautifully designed. It's the most complex machine in the entire universe. Your eyes, your hands, your brains are so intricately designed. Your DNA has got the code for your human body to function. A very, very intricate and complicated code. He's not only an incredible artist and a designer, but a terrifying God. Billions and billions of galaxies and trillions of stars, and Earth is the only place where we can find life. He's extremely merciless in his nature. If man were to simply expose to him, we would be eviscerated in a heartbeat. We picture a tame God. Some say no God, and some believe in a tolerant God, but the knowledge of the real God is traumatic. We cannot stand before him. None of us can bear the true reality of God. The creation shows his divine power, his intelligent design and artistry. Look at the natural phenomenon like tsunamis, hurricanes, and volcanoes. It shows the fury of the nature. If God decided, you need to understand the fury and the wrath of God. He's matchless in his power. No one can stand before him. He's terrifying, and humans don't have any chance to stand before him in our fallen nature. If you look at the nature, there are two qualities about God that you cannot see. That is love and grace. But you can see the clues of every other qualities, his divine qualities, is matchless power. But none of these natural phenomenon shows that he's a loving God. Vast galaxies doesn't say that he's a loving God. It shows the opposite. The thought of God who made all this amazing, huge stars. We must be scared to death if there's a God who made all that. What am I before him? Look at tsunamis and volcanoes and hurricanes and tornadoes. They don't say that he's a loving God. In fact, they show the opposite. He's a terrifying God. The nature shows he's a matchless force. Doesn't tell anything about his love and grace. You will not find that God is a God of love in nature. Look at other religions. No other religions have this concept that God is a God of love. Some religion talks about being merciful and being compassionate, but not a God of love and grace. Where do you get this idea that he's a God of love and grace? I tell you what, it's from the Bible. That's the only source. You take the Bible out of the equation in this world, you will see clues for a terrifying God. Your heart knows about this God who's just and demands justice. That's why we want to take God out of the equation and go on with the picture of a tame, tolerant God, and we want to suppress the truth. But when you look at the Bible, this mighty God, this terrifying God, this matchless force, the God of the gospel is angry at sin. And he comes to this world and goes to the cross, beaten, nailed, takes the wrath and dies in your place. God incarnate loves us so much, he's willing to lose his glory, his matchless power and force and control, and he emptied himself on the cross. No other religion has this truth. It's unique. You can give yourself to a God like this and surrender your life. His love demands a soul, a life, and a all. Life of Pi is a movie about a person who finds truth about different religion. He explores the truth about Hinduism and Islam and Buddhism and various other religions. And then he goes to a Catholic priest, and the priest explains about Christ's death on the cross. This is what he said. That a God should put up with adversity, I could understand. The gods of Hinduism face their fair share of thieves, bullies, kidnappers, and usurpers. What is the Ramayana but the account of one long bad day for Rama? Adversity, yes. Reversals of fortune, yes. Treachery, yes. But humiliation? Death? I could imagine Lord Krishna consenting to be stripped naked, whipped, mocked, dragged through the streets, and to top it off, crucified, and at the hands of mere humans to boot. I never heard of a Hindu god dying. But divinity should not be blighted by death. It's wrong. It was wrong of this Christian God to let his avatar die. That is tantamount to letting a part of himself die. For if the Son is to die, it cannot be fake. If God on the cross is God shamming a human tragedy, it turns the passion of Christ into the farce of Christ. The death of the Son must be real. But once a dead God, always a dead God, even resurrected. The Son must have the taste of death forever in his mouth. The Trinity must be tainted by it. There must be a certain stench at the right hand of God the Father. The horror must be real. Why would God wish that upon himself? Why not leave death to the mortals? Why make dirty what is beautiful, spoil what is perfect? That was his dilemma, that was his question. And to that, the Catholic priest, Father Martin, replied, one word: love. Love. Deep down, we all know there is a God. But do you know that the same God came to die in your place so you don't have to die for your failure to keep his moral law? When you put your faith in Jesus Christ, his righteousness is imputed to us, and we become righteous because he lived a perfect life and died in our place. And that's the gospel, and that's the God we have. Do you know this God? He's not only terrifying, awesome, powerful, and mighty. He is full of love and grace. I hope that's an encouragement for you. Thanks for watching, and God bless.